Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in podcast land. Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Will.
My name is Lee.
And my name is Chuck.
And this week we're here to discuss Season 2, Episode 1 of Loki, titled Ouroboros. Ouroboros?
Ouroboros.
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 I said Ouroboros like 5 times. Put your headphones on.
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Obi. Let's just call it Obi.
Obi. I'm going to just call him Obi.
Let's call it Obi.
The guy from Everything Everywhere
call it
All at
Short
Once.
Round. Let's just call it Short Round.
Okay?
Okie
So-
dokie, Dr. Jones.
All right, listen. This television show. What you guys think? Because I'm going last, because I got things. What you guys think, Lee?
You want to start me? Okay, so
yeah.
first of all, Will, you've never seen Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Thanks to you, I can't say that without thinking of the alternate spoof of that title. Thanks a lot.
Hey,
but
Josh Hartnett.
all we have to say
Josh Hartnett.
all we have to say about it. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This guy, Ke Huy Quan, plays this little kid in Indiana Jones, and he's just like his little sidekick the entire time, named Short Round.
Yeah.
He was also in the Goonies. He was in like Pretty in Pink, I think, right? And or Encino Man, and he's popped up in a bunch of stuff.
He was in Encino Man?
He was in Encino Man, yeah. I remember him from Encino Man. He was,
He was
the
just
Asian
in
guy.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, I
Exactly.
led with
And-
that.
I know, and that's the thing is like that was his comeback into movies, and he nailed it. He was amazing in that. But the funniest thing about him, I'll have to say, and I preface this to my wife because my wife loved the first season of Loki. Thought it was fantastic. My wife, she actually really, really enjoys the Marvel movies. I know I've shared it before, but she saw Avengers in theaters like 4 times.
Yeah.
The first one.
Hmm?
And it's funny because like nowadays she just hates whatever Hollywood's putting out. She's like, this is all horrible garbage. It's all subliminal and blah blah blah. And I mean, there's a lot of truth to it. There really is. But like she still loves the characters that were brought into this universe. So and she's just always loved the stories. It's actually pretty cool. What they did in the first season was actually really really cool. But when I was telling her the character here that Ke Huy Quan plays, like he still sounds like a child, but
Yes.
as a man, like the way he speaks, like generally you'd think of somebody who has an accent and English is a second language. Over time, they start to become a little bit clearer. I mean, my grandfather came here. I mean, I understand that English is English, but he was like Northern English, and you can't understand Northern English. But if you hear him or if you heard him before he passed away, he actually sounded Bostonian, and I still thought he sounded British until I met his family, and I was like, oh wait, you don't sound British at all, because things just change over 50 years. But this dude sounds exactly the same. He's just taller. So, my thoughts on this episode, they kind of retconned the ending of the last season. Because you see this and like something happens, he gets kicked through a door and he goes what we think is back to TVA in his present time. It's an alternate it's an alternate timeline of where Mobius and B-15 don't know who he is, but the reality is he's actually like, maybe a couple hundred years back. And we don't exactly know, and that's why things look different. So what they're introducing here is time is circular. It's a circle. Like what I was talking about earlier, and which is different, and it kind of puts me in that whole idea of the difference between like what Star Wars is doing and what they're doing here with Loki. Loki's doing it in a way that's like they're explaining it enough to get it, whereas Ahsoka brought in this world between worlds and didn't explain anything about it or even use it again.
Yeah, the difference with this though is in Loki is instead of taking advantage of being like the branches and having these splits in time, he's in the same timeline all the time.
Right. So he's in the same timeline. Well, I mean, they did do different universes in the first season, but here,
He's in the same
when he's
timeline.
time slipping, he's in the same timeline but different time. So that's a really interesting concept because now we're not talking about alternate realities. We're talking about time as well. So we've got this motion, going horizontal, and we've also got this motion going vertical. So we're like, ooh. Not often do we see something in sci-fi where they're talking about time and well, I guess you could say time and space, but it's not really space as much as it's time and a multiverse. So this, I feel like they're treading upon something we haven't seen before, where they're talking about two different things that are generally just like confused, in everything else we've seen in any other franchise. Where they say that there's alternate timelines, and then there's like the consistent time. Is time linear? Is time circular? Like, what is it here? So I feel like they're starting to touch upon it. I mean, they even say it in this episode where at one point, what was it? As they're explaining it, and he's talking to Obi, or Ouroboros, whatever, and he says, "Oh yeah, that logic makes sense," which is a very meta line to say. It's basically them saying, "Hey, what we're doing here is different than what other people have done." Yeah. Well, we're seeing this side by side of him in the past, while Mobius is in the future, or the present, whatever, and they're going back and forth. It's like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And suddenly he's remembering everything. We're seeing the change happen right in front of us because he's doing it in the past at the same time with these side by side scenes. And then he, Obi is even just like, oh yeah, okay, that's happening here. That's like, okay, that logic makes perfect sense. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Chuck,
Well,
how do you feel about
so
that? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about what Lee's laying down right now? How does that make you feel? Lee, don't say anything else. How does that make you feel? Are you on board with this? Are you on board with this? What he's talking about? Do you like this concept of time travel and the way that it works? How do you feel about that?
I don't. And here's the reason why. Is because
I thought I had you. I was waiting for you to say, yeah, I like it. I thought I had you here. Damn. Okay.
Well, here's the reason why. Is they've been toying with us with this one idea of time travel for 10 years now. And then they take in what we have always known as time travel and then planted it in the middle of what they've been doing. For all the stuff that we've always watched, like Back to the Future and all these other things, it's always been time travel in the finite thing of just our timeline. Outside of like Sliders back in the 90s when they came out and they did like these alternate dimensions, it was it was just different dimensions. It wasn't different time. And when Marvel introduced the multiverse, it still is different dimensions.
Right.
But it's not time travel. When Doctor Strange is going from, it's not time travel. When Loki in season 1 was traveling in between, it's not time travel.
Right.
What the Avengers did in Endgame
was time travel.
In
that timeline, right.
In that timeline. What they're doing now is the TVA was never there to save time. They were there to prevent multiverse from happening.
Right.
So if they're really there to save time, what should be happening here is this time slippage should be like a big no-no. Because they're going against everything that is they're actually going, and it should be creating,
it's impossible.
And it should be creating more alternate dimensions if what's happening is supposed to be happening.
Sounds like you're having trouble reconciling that.
I am. Well, here's the thing: is there's now one dimension where he didn't receive this thing, and one dimension where he did.
Yeah,
but they're all in the same dimension now. So
yeah,
this right here is the butterfly effect.
This right here is the okay, my eyes are crossed now. Like,
wait,
I thought you were going this way and now you're going that way. So that's why when you have, it's like rubbing your head and patting your tummy or vice versa. You're doing two different things at the same time, and it's like, we're not ready for this yet. This is just, it's too much. It's too much too fast. But I kind of appreciate that because they're trying to give us something different.
I agree with that. They're trying to give us something different, and I tried to catch you, Chuck. I tried so hard to catch you because this idea is not unique. They did the same thing in Looper, and I just wanted to see if you liked it here, but you didn't like it there. I was just testing you, but my respect for you just went up though. So kudos on you for not liking it. Well, no, because like if you think about it, Looper, everything was happening like both in real time and in one character's past, so it was kind of like happening like a ping pong effect with both of those characters.
Oh yeah,
and I just wanted to see like
like
do you like it here and you just don't like it there because you didn't like that movie, or what's going on? So good on that. They are trying to do something different. I don't like it though, because there's no rules to time travel the way that they're doing it here. I have a
Right.
problem with that. Normally, the way this kind of time travel should work, what happened always happened. Period. That should be like the one constant rule when you're doing this type of time travel. What happened
100%.
always happened. That's not what they're doing here. What happened is happening. Therefore, it's happening in the past as well. So it's like both timelines are moving linearly, and I don't like that. It causes for too much confusion, and they're going to get muddled in these waters. This is going to be a giant mess eventually. There's more chances here to mess up.
Because it's gonna be, is it time travel or is it dimensional travel? Like,
Well, this is time travel.
no. As
But
we're
it's
going
not-
along, though.
It's time travel, but it's not like it's weird.
No, I get that. What I'm trying to say is where they're going to get muddled down the road is they're going to cross their eyes going, is this interdimensional traveling or is this time travel?
Well, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, they're going to get muddled where they're going to be able to change things, and a character in the past is going to remember it because it's not happening like right then and there. Like that's what I mean. Like, that whole concept is out the window now. They don't have to follow those rules anymore. If you're gonna do time travel, you need to be grounded. There needs to be some type of rules. And here it's just like this is whatever they want. I'm not a fan of that. I appreciate they're trying something different, but I don't like that.
Before we continue, we tried something. We did the Ahsoka podcast where we're gonna, if we've been watching something or had watched something.
Yeah.
So I've been recently. I recently picked up watching another TV show. I watched like 6 out of 10 of the seasons. But I started watching Big Bang Theory again.
Oh,
Have you ever watched Have you ever watched Big Bang Theory? Okay, so you make the look and you do that. But basically, aside from the geniuses, they're us. They aside from being geniuses, they're us.
Yes.
And I just watched this. I'm going through it again, and I actually really I find it really enjoyable to watch. It's fun. But they talk about Star Trek and Star Wars and Babylon 5 and
Babylon 5.
Wow.
Was that another Gene Roddenberry?
I think so.
I know he did like Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica, wasn't it?
Was that Roddenberry? No, Roddenberry did Star Trek, but
Star Trek.
he did like a few other ones. I'm always getting them confused.
But
Anyway,
they're going through this, and I watched this episode where Leonard is telling Penny about how he became
Leonard is the kid from
the main from Roseanne.
From Roseanne and Christmas Vacation, and Galecki, right? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, and he meets, and he's going back. He talked about how he becomes Sheldon's, who's one of the.
We know Sheldon.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who Sheldon is.
How he becomes his roommate, and in this, he's doing this like 80-page roommate contract that he has to like go through and sign.
Yeah.
And in the contract, one of the things that he says is, if either of us invent time travel while we're living here, we have to come back to this exact time, but 5 seconds from now. And then they both sign it, and then they stop,
and they wait 5 seconds,
and they wait 5 seconds, and then Sheldon goes, "Oh, that's a shame." I'm like, interesting, because this is the kind of conversation that we would have, but we're not geniuses and don't know how to make it work.
That's pretty funny.
But take out the genius aspect. You got 4 guys who are all completely nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about comic books and sci-fi and comic books and sci-fi. And I'm like, crap, what did we talk about? Comic books and sci-fi and comic books and sci-fi.
More sci-fi.
Like, more sci-fi. And it's
but we're not that smart, so.
But we're just, we are them less the genius. And I'm
We're
like,
not geniuses.
We're not geniuses.
We are not geniuses. No.
So I will say this, for me, if somebody wants just a fun pastime show to watch, go watch The Big Bang Theory. It's super fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
there are pastime.
There are some iffy parts in the whole TV show.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pretty funny. I get a rise out of it just because I'm like, oh man, that's us. I see. It's so funny. But My
Well,
daughter calls
I
me
feel
a
like
geek.
us is more like Will and I have more been like Clerks. We're basically Randall
Pretty
and
much,
Dante.
yes.
Like that's it's Will and I have always been Randall and Dante meets
you are
Jules and Vincent.
you are Dante. You are 100% Dante.
I am definitely Dante.
You are definitely Dante. I am Randall. You are Dante. It's always been this way.
That is completely accurate.
Well, it's sad when when my own daughter calls me a nerd. I'm like, seriously?
Well, she calls you a nerd because you're the dad who's just like, hey,
Who likes
dad.
Star Trek and Star Wars and Marvel and
pretty
and
much.
comic books and DC and Superman and Batman. Like, yeah, I fit into that. I think we all fit into that category.
Yes, pretty much.
So
Well, my daughter's not at that age. They think I'm the coolest, and they want to watch everything that I watch. Like, can we watch Ahsoka? I'm kind of like, there's a lot of witches and stuff in there. I'm like, I don't know, kids. I think we're gonna stop at at episode 2.
I let my son watch it.
Yeah, it's so dark. I didn't let them watch those episodes of Rebels. It was just super dark. Even the Clone Wars stuff, I'm like, no, you can't. It gets a little.
Enjoy.
I had to
enjoy
mute.
I enjoy the daddy moments now because as soon as they turn 12, 13, 14, that goes out the window.
I know.
I asked my daughter. I was like, "So you listen to the Keep Up podcast?" She's like, "Yeah, I like it." I said, "How about R?" She's like, "Eh."
Nah.
I'm like,
Hey, at least she didn't say it was worse than torture.
I know, seriously. So
for those who don't know,
So
but
somebody close to us said this is worse than torture.
my wife.
My
wife. But no, the whole it's interdimensional travel mixed with time travel. Which one will it be down the road?
I don't think we've ever seen to me this is like a Wonka Vader moment. It goes upways, slantways, sideways. This way. It's like I don't think we've ever seen something that talks about it going all the way around. I mean, kinda Doctor Who stuff, but not really. It was more about time. So
Doctor Who never did interdimensional.
No, they didn't. They were like interplanetary, but never dimensional. So I think this is where it's like we all kind of feel uneasy about this because now we're doing time travel and not just timeline. So, I kind of like it because I wanted to see something different, and I'm seeing something different. But I'm also going. I appreciated what I liked about the first season of Loki and even WandaVision is they were both so different than everything else that was saturating, media and stuff that we get into. So with this, I don't know where the season's going. And I'm not I don't even have ideas.
You don't?
No.
It seems pretty obvious to me.
Really? Okay, what is your opinion, your theory after this one episode?
Well, they said it.
They're going to go find Sylvie.
Well, but they have to prevent all the other branches from happening still,
which they're not going to. They can't. Because then how are you going to get the King Dynasty?
But they will. That she said the line, "You're going to kill millions of people by doing this." Because they even brought it up when they're in that triangle courtroom, when he prunes the wall.
Yeah.
And because the whole thing is they're going to try to bring it back down to where there is just the one. What's his name? And he's already dead. So if they bring it all down to the one timeline, they win everything altogether.
So they're
going to find a way to do that without actually quote unquote killing people.
So one thing that's really interesting is if you know anything about the comics and the story here is Kang the Conqueror. Kang's relationship is with Ravonna Renslayer, who we saw as the judge before. And then we hear that line in the episode that kind of gets into it where you hear the two of them talking back and forth. It goes, Ravonna Renslayer, you're such a marvel, which is like, okay, name drop, okay, whatever. Will is bursting at the seams right now. Go ahead, Will. I'll start talking.
No. I want you to keep going. Get it all out.
Okay. I won't get it all out, but the reality is I honestly don't know where they're really going to go with this, because what you're saying sounds like an obvious, way to go. But I don't think that's what they're going to do here, because Loki has been not obvious. The entire first season was not obvious. This whole episode was like he's time slipping, and I'm actually very surprised that they solved that issue in the first episode, and that's that. I'm disappointed.
I'm not upset that they solved it at all.
It's just weird. It's
Well-
weird to me that they would have this issue and then solve it. And you're like, okay, great. Now where are they going to go?
I think it's funny that they killed off Loki again, and he was brought back again.
They didn't really kill off Loki.
He got
was
pruned.
Yeah,
He
but that was the
died.
plan.
yeah, but yeah,
I
the
know.
The plan was to prune
he
him.
was pruned from that timeline.
to bring him back to that timeline.
I think the bigger
Yes.
I think the bigger question is who pruned him,
Well, yes.
Absolutely,
which is what I want to get into.
Because Sylvie's in front of him somehow in an elevator with a new haircut, and then somebody behind him prunes him, and you go, "What?" And who was on the phone?
Okay.
Why was the phone ringing? Why did he stand there and just stare at the elevator? And who pruned him?
Here we
And
go.
why did she go to McDonald's?
I
That I did. I the second time I was like, "Oh, there's an end credit scene." And I watched it. And I was
Yes.
like, "I didn't expect this."
Mickey D's
And
in
she just wanted to try
1982,
everything.
1984, whenever.
I'll try.
Well, I didn't hear or see where she walked into. I'm like, this looks like a McDonald's. And then they're like, oh, we have McNuggets and this. I'm like, it is a McDonald's.
Well, they had the credits at the bottom, like the subtitle at the bottom that said wherever
Yeah.
blah 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 1980 something.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I was
Yeah.
I was in the other room and I heard. I'm like, oh, it's something's happening, and I ran back in the room and watched.
Early 1980s.
Yeah, yeah.
Before you go, Will, I have
Where's he going?
no.
'Cause
Before he,
okay.
there's just one part I found funny when they're in this courtroom, and he prunes that hole where he prunes. There's the three.
Yeah.
Who's this dude that's just like passed
Really?
out on the?
Oh, that's your
He's just a
question.
guy.
That's your
Just
question.
a guy. Just
My
a guy.
question are, who are all these people and where did they suddenly come from, and why do I care about them?
Oh, there's only three of them.
Well,
I'm concerned about this random hunter who's just like
The-
suddenly a jerk and came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and then
that's TV.
like, who is he? Why do I care?
He's a guy.
and
He's a
who's
new
this other
character-
woman?
He's a new character that the show is introducing.
Yeah, but they didn't introduce
Kind of
him
like
well.
it's kind of like Lost, where every season there were new people magically on the island. Like the passengers of the plane just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like, what is going on here? So
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I
yes.
didn't watch the show, but I know
No.
the whole thing about it.
I doubt
thanks
that.
to you guys, like a few seasons ago.
I-
Um,
Can I?
but
Okay.
Go.
So you
go.
brought up a couple of interesting things. Who pruned him? Who was behind him? What's going on with the phone? What's happening here? I am sick to death of all of the teases that Marvel has been laying on throughout almost ever since Wanda. I am
It's
tired
Ralph.
of it. I am
Ralph
no.
did it.
I'm going there. I'm absolutely
Ralph's
going
on the
there.
phone. Mr. Fantastic is the one who pruned him.
They opened
ahead.
Cerebro. The door was clearly Cerebro. There's an X, there's a middle piece where the eye's supposed to go. That is clearly Cerebro. The room opens and there's a platform that you can roll onto, and an even longer platform on the outside where there's a whole bunch of crazy nonsense going on. It is 100% Cerebro. It's a
did not catch
giant
that at
door.
all.
It's a giant door with an X in it that opens exactly like Xavier's door in all three of those X-Men movies. It is 100%. Okay, fine. I'll wait.
I'm not disagreeing
Nope,
with you.
Nope,
Oh, you're
nope,
saying
nope,
when you're saying when
nope,
you're
nope,
saying when
nope, stop. I
I'm
will
not putting
wait.
money on it.
I will wait for one of you to look up the image. It is clearly Cerebro. It
I thought you were
opens
going
up
to.
like the door in of Cerebro.
This
There
is the
a
part when-
platform. Yes.
at
the
the
door-
very
Yeah, when they're going into the temporal loom.
100%. 100% it's Cerebro. It's identical. It's shot for shot. It opens the same way. I'm shocked neither one of you picked up on this.
I mean,
You
it's a
can- you
door.
can-
It's a sci-fi door.
It's it's one Lee.
Then where's Xavier?
Fine. I'll wait. I want you to see it.
If that's the case, then it's just a slap in the face to you again.
Thank you.
That's it.
But
Like,
it's
it's not gonna go
100%
anywhere.
Hang on. You know what?
I'm saying it's not going to go anywhere.
That's my problem. It's not going to go
Yeah.
anywhere. That's why I'm sick of all the teases. I am tired of all of these teases. It's getting ridiculous. Where is it? Where's the door? I'm gonna send you an image of it right now. Here it is. They did a close up of it. Hang on.
They did. They definitely did.
Here's what I found.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There you go. I texted it to you both. Anyways. Great. Go ahead. Look, call me crazy. Tell me that I'm nuts.
No, I haven't. It hasn't come through yet.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah?
Oh, there it is.
No, there it is.
That's not an X. I mean, it. I don't know. That just looks like a fortified door, but okay, I
It
can see.
opens the same way.
Yeah, doors open. They have to
Okay,
unlock. And they
fine.
open.
Never mind. I'm crazy then.
It seems like a nod, but I don't feel like
nod?
it's. I feel like it's a nod, but I don't feel like it's going to go anywhere. I feel
There's
like
a
it's use that
platform
just to
inside.
give you
A very
And
long walkway platform with
Inside?
crazy. Did you not
was
see where?
outside.
Yeah, where he walked out. He walked right out onto it.
Eh,
Yeah, he
Okay.
did.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can definitely see it.
I
There-
can too, but I just feel like, I mean, we've been slapped in the face too many times. I'm not going to look into it too much further. I think that's just there just to piss people off.
Okay. Fine.
I think it's there just to get us to go, oh, look at this, and then start speculating, and it's not going to lead to anything. It's, I mean, how many times are you going to get kicked in the face before you realize, oh, don't stand here? You know, if
That's
I don't-
why. That reason why is why after we finish with Loki, Will and I are like, we're done with Disney. We're done
know.
being kicked while we're down.
I know.
It hurts way too much.
Maybe there is water. Maybe it's not a mirage.
Uh-huh.
Nope, just sand.
Uh-huh.
It's rough, coarse, hot, gets everywhere. Big pile of
I sent you
sand.
guys one more picture.
I see it. I know. I
How
see
do
that.
you not see it? How
That
is
looks
it?
like the Rainbow Bridge. It's. I don't see how that's
Okay,
cerebral.
there is a door with a giant X on it, and then a platform that you roll or walk out onto with a whole bunch of crazy nonsense happening on the. Oh my God! Fine. You can laugh about it all you want to. It's
With the
clear as
circular-
day.
I see it.
It's clear as day, Cerebro.
Okay.
Professor X comes rolling in.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. I'm
No,
just
he
saying.
can't. Because he got his neck snapped while he was dreaming.
Different dimension.
Yeah.
I
Different
don't
dimension.
know.
So he's still alive in this dimension.
That's fine.
I thought some of the special effects, like him,
They looked
slipping,
amazing.
was really, really cool.
Yeah,
It looks like he's being born or dying or both at the same time.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole thing was.
Except for the whole side by side part that we were talking about earlier. This episode I did enjoy for the most part.
You didn't like the side by side, the back and forth with Obi. I don't have one of those. Oh yeah, I do have one of those.
He made it
That's
funny.
so stupid. It was so
He made
stupid.
it-
It doesn't.
he
I
made-
hate the whole concept of this kind of time travel.
Yeah,
It's
'cause it
happening
should've-
as it's
it should've
happening because
always
it's so
been there.
dumb.
He should have all like.
I kind of liked it.
So does
There-
does the device that he's looking for just magically appear, or was it always there? Poof.
But that's the thing. It's like, a tree falling in the woods doesn't make a sound. It's like he doesn't know it's there until he thinks, "Oh, let me look here," and then suddenly it is there.
No. He remembered before he looked, which means
Yeah.
that if the memory just popped into his mind that point in time,
Mhm.
that means the device popped more. So let me ask you this question, Will.
I want to see it.
wanna
I want to see. I want to see something poof into existence. Then, like, seriously,
I'm
it's so
gonna ask you-
stupid.
I'm going to ask you the same question in reverse. If you hate this part here, how come you liked Looper?
Hmm.
Oh,
Not at all. I'm waiting for the laughter to stop, and then I'm gonna answer.
Oh, I love it.
Looper made more sense.
No,
than
it
this.
did not. It made sense.
It made a lot more sense than this.
No,
Okay?
it did not.
There's a big difference. There is a big difference between an object popping into place out of thin air that wasn't there just a second ago because then there is of like two people moving along the same timeline in the same time space and like memories happening. Like there's a whole
Listen,
different
we've-
thing going on.
We've
People
seen this before in the
whoa.
butterfly effect and in
No, no, no.
Looper, where somebody's causes pain to themselves, and suddenly they have scars that show up.
No, that scar has but in butterfly effect, it shows you that scar was always there.
Always
with new memory.
there.
Oh yeah, with new memories, which just happened here.
No.
Just happened here.
What's happening here is what happened in Looper, where when they're cutting off someone's finger, and all of a sudden in that moment he has no finger.
Yeah.
2 seconds ago he had a finger.
Right.
No.
And they did it in Project Almanac, the same thing, where things start to happen right in front of it.
It is dumb. I never said it wasn't. Listen, I never said it wasn't dumb. I said it made more sense than what's happening here. Because in Looper, you didn't have objects poofing into existence because of wonky memory.
No,
that's number one. Let me finish. That's number one.
That's number one.
Number two, Looper was taking place in the same time. Like, they were both in the same place and time. You didn't have one person in the present and one person in the past. Bruce Willis and whatever his name is, they were both in the same place at the same time. Here, you have 400 years of distance between the two, or whatever, and just
how long it was.
Well, how about frequency? You had one person in the past, one person in the future, and they were communicating via radio and doing things that would happen in the future. It's another one that's circular time and not linear.
Yeah, the part that I noped out on that part is when he's carving his name in the desk.
Yeah.
He's watching it happen.
Yes.
That part, no.
I think that's a great concept.
It made sense is putting the wallet in there, and then he found the wallet, and it was all
like old and stuff.
That makes sense. If he woke up the next day and the desk was all of a sudden not watching it happen.
But that's the whole thing that makes it cool, because if he decided to stop talking at that moment, then it wouldn't go further. The fact that he's doing it, he's creating that because of his actions in the present, and we're watching him go forward with those actions. We're seeing it happen in the past and therefore happening in the present at the same time. And it does make sense if you're looking at it from that circular timeline. And I think that's a cool concept.
Certain point of view.
Yes, from a certain point of view. But that's why I've always had an issue with the Back to the Future movies, because they go on with it being a linear timeline with multiple different versions of a reality or universes or, dimensions or whatever. And then at one point they do a whole thing about a circular timeline. So that those movies, although they're entertaining, then they hit all these different levels of different genres, they don't make any sense as far as what could possibly be time travel, because it doesn't line up. But then you see stuff like this where they're trying to do both at the same time, and it's just going like, okay, we don't like it because we've seen this at this level and at that level, and together they don't make sense, because what are we watching here? So I like it because it's a little different. But
so
anyway.
outside of the cerebral part, Will, what are your thoughts?
I'm not a big fan of the way that they're doing time travel. I think it's way too loose. I think you got to have some type of rule. Something has to be there to reel everything in, or at least ground everything to. That way you're not all over the place and just doing things. I think that's foolish. Well, and I think it's setting up for massive failure. It's not. Well, there's no way that you're going to be able to sustain that kind of storytelling. You're not going to be able to. Eventually you're going to make a mistake and you're going to jump off the rails.
I think that it's going to be secluded to this episode. And the reason why I say that is the only reason why it was happening was because he was time slipping and he couldn't control it.
Yeah, but they introduced the concept of it here. I fully expect to see this again. And then you have what's her name, who's back in the slipping. You have what's her name who's back in the past now, back in 1984, 82, whatever. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility. This is not the last time we're going to see this. This is going to happen again, and I think it's a mistake. I think
we said that about the World Between Worlds in Ahsoka as well, and we didn't see anything else of that.
No, I'm saying
not
in
yet.
Disney.
Not yet.
Yeah, I know.
What I'm saying is the time travel.
We'll see it in the 5th season.
I think the time travel will still happen. I don't think it will happen via time slippage with Loki, because that's done. They solved that problem. That's all I'm saying. Time travel will still happen. They're the TVA. It's gonna happen. It's not gonna just be different multiverses and dimensions. It's gonna be within his own timeline. What what was weird about this one was the time slippage that was happening, and I think that won't happen again. I think that one aspect alone won't happen again.
I guess we'll see.
Only because he couldn't control it. He couldn't control it.
I guess we'll see. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Hang on a second. I found something. Ooh. Hang on. Keep talking, because I'm looking at something else. I'm sorry.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this episode was it's to me it's odd that they would bring up this stuff and everything. I mean, they did a recap. The thing that stinks about the recap is I feel like there were a lot of really great parts in the first season that were just lost in the recap because all of the great parts of that season were not necessary to understand the story. They were just entertaining for what they were. So I really wanted to revisit the first season. So before this episode came out, I watched the last episode.
Okay.
And then I think I actually watched the first episode the day that it was coming out. So I watched the first and last episode of season 1 and the last first and then the first one. And then I watched this. I'm just like, all the cool stuff I think was in the middle, you know, because when you watch the last episode, not having the buildup of the whole season, it just falls flat.
Right. I did appreciate that this episode started right where that episode left off.
Oh yeah, immediately.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I did appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to do that and not just have him sitting in like an interrogation room talking to people, but what?
I mean, you could have. It kind of did, because they opened this episode up and they're
and he's running.
Yeah,
that's it. It's like immediately.
But I mean, no. Oh, I'm sorry. Later on, they do have like a pseudo interrogation thing where they're all in the council meeting and they're talking about what to do next. They do that whole thing.
Yeah, but as opposed to starting right there, they didn't.
So you don't think that the way that they saved him from time slipping by pruning him and doing something like that they didn't find a way to all of a sudden save the timeline with everything else and prune the timelines and then bring everything back in that way that's not really corrects the whole situation?
They had no way to do that.
They didn't until what happened with him.
Yeah, that was on a small scale.
And you don't think they're going to find a big, it's the neuralizer from
yeah, I get it.
What's the neuralizer? I'm sorry, what?
It's
the
neuralizer from the Statue of Liberty and Back to the
Future
and Men in Black 2.
Yeah,
where they can now do it with everybody. They're going to find a way to make it so that way it fits for.
They won't, because we've seen this multiverse of madness and all this other stuff, and we know that Kang, the whole the Council of Kangs or whatever they call it, is going to play a factor at some point. Now the difference is we expected at the end, when we saw the end of the first season, that he was somehow, I think I already shared this, he was somehow in the present, but in fact he was in the past and just saw what started all this. What they're showing here is that it's actually most likely not Kang the Conqueror that somehow conquered all of this. It's actually what Victor Timely, I think, was another variant.
I think they already showed him in this episode too.
Yeah, so Victor Timely is actually the one who created the TVA.
So there's this character who was walking around a couple of times in this episode, and both times he had bags, and he's looking over his shoulder and watching everybody. They specifically show him he's front and center.
I missed that
in a scene where Loki and Morbius were talking about everything that's going on. They show him walking and he has bags and everything and he's looking over his shoulder and paying attention. And then later on, they show him walking in the background again. It's very clear as day. They want you to pay attention to this person.
I just want to make this clear. I understand that it's Marvel, but it's definitely not Morbius.
What did I say?
It's just not more. You said Morbius. I'm just saying
it's Morpheus.
His name is. I thought it was Morbius.
No, it's
Mobius.
Like a Mobius strip. Yeah.
Listen.
Morpheus.
This ADHD. This ADHD dyslexic riddled brain is not going to stop making these mistakes. It's never going to happen.
I know. I just want to make sure we're clear that we're not talking about Michael Morbius.
Yeah, I don't care.
I know.
Okay, good. Hang on.
I don't know when he went nuclear.
Nuclear?
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
I can't even say
It's
it.
pronounced nuclear.
Can't even say it wrong. I'm trying to. Nuclear.
You know what? Honestly, I think one of my biggest issues I have here is this character X5 that's brought up. So we talked about him earlier, the mustache dude or whatever, who's
Yeah.
just like, hey, what's up with all these like jet skis and stuff like that? And then he's like, oh yeah, I think this and that, and it looks like a cool thing
I
to
don't
do, and
care.
blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, I don't care. All right, they want to see you in the war room. I wonder what that's about. I'm like, who's this guy? I don't understand.
New character.
New character, but I don't understand his character. Maybe I don't know. I feel
He's-
like
he's a bad guy.
he is a bad guy. Yeah. And then like
Is
the
he a
other
bad
woman,
guy? You really think
the
he's
T-Rex lady, the T-Rex lady who looks like she's wearing a mask. I'm sorry if that's what the woman really looks like in real life. I'm sorry, but I was watching it on a small screen. I'm just like, is that somebody in a mask?
Nope.
No.
Nope. But I was very confused. I'm like, who are these characters and why do I care?
Well, they're introducing all new characters.
They're introducing all new
Yeah.
characters, but they didn't make it. They didn't build up to them. They didn't introduce them well. They introduced four new characters. I mean, 3.5 because the other guy was sleeping the whole time until what?
Well, he was
Okay.
old.
Yeah, but it just didn't make any sense.
What happened?
This guy.
I don't know.
I sent the guy to you. This guy, and I'm gonna splice that in here to the thing. This guy. He was in the episode a couple of times. I don't remember him from last season, but the camera's very much on him. More than
Okay,
once
that's
in this
interesting.
episode. More than
Yeah.
once. It's
Okay,
very.
that's
So I'm just wondering,
very
like,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Well,
might for the first time, because I don't usually go back and watch these episodes twice. I might actually go back and watch this one again before I watch the next episode.
yeah, I watched it twice.
I watched it twice.
I will say this. I will say this. I'm actually really annoyed at what Disney's doing with this. So we're in the age of streaming. The stuff we watch is all streamed. Like we don't watch things that are on broadcast television anymore because it's just like, what's the point? None of us here are paying for cable.
No.
We're all watching things on the streaming sites.
Yep.
So when I watch shows before, I'm either binging
Two
it.
of us are actually paying for streaming sites.
I'm paying for streaming sites.
One.
Listen, so
One. You have what? 10 of them?
I have a few.
I know exactly
that I'm
what you're going
paying
to talk
for.
about.
So, okay. So the thing is, you either binge it or you wait until the next week and you watch it. They are not just releasing this on. So I was actually really annoyed because I'm just like, oh, Thursday. I'm like, I've got some time this morning. I'm going to watch the next episode. It's like, no, 9 p.m.
Right.
on Thursday. I'm like, okay, so it's basically Friday.
Wow.
Thanks a lot. So they're releasing it at a prime time on Thursdays now.
That's weird.
It stinks because now we only have a couple of days for me to watch it twice.
It used to be midnight West Coast time.
Midnight.
Ahsoka
Exactly.
was 9 o'clock on Tuesdays.
I don't think it was. It was.
It was 9 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Oh, was it?
That's weird.
Well, yeah. That's
So
like
when?
you said, Western time.
No.
No,
9
9 p.m.
It used to be midnight day of West Coast time. So it would have been 3 a.m. here. That used because it was like that for the first season
Right.
of Loki.
Right.
It was like that for Mandalorian.
Yeah.
it
So
was
we just
like
have
that-
to be
yeah.
mindful that it's coming out on Fridays now.
That's wild.
So it's like, okay, well, here I am expecting Thursday, and it's like, okay, now we have less than 2 days for me to watch something twice. I can't watch it once. I watch it once. I have a system for how we watch the shows. Like if I'm watching a movie, I'll take notes because I can't watch a movie twice, not usually. But when we're doing the shows, I'll watch the show with no notes, no subtitles, just watch it and enjoy it, and sometimes I'm kind of like running around and I'll watch it. Second time I watch it is, intently with notes and I'm watching it with subtitles to catch all the little bits and pieces. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do that now because we have such limited time in between it releasing and us discussing it. So I'm a little annoyed about that, but
I'm not.
It is what it is. Yeah.
I'm not annoyed about that at all.
Well, it means that we get to release the episode before the new episode.
Exactly. That's why
our
I'm not annoyed by that at all.
That's the only reason why it's good because it's later on the back end. But whatever. Honestly, I don't hate the episode. I thought the
Neither do
whole I thought that Ki Hu Kwan was amazing in this. He was hilarious. He's like, oh, he's like, and then your suit will get old and it'll fall apart. Then your skin comes off and you die. It's just like the delivery, the whole thing about skin. I think it was one joke too many. When he wrote skin in the dust on the computer
Yeah.
with the question mark, and then later on they used that as a device to show that he actually time slipped into the future. At first I'm like, why does it say skin there? It's in the past. And then like, oh no, it's the future. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that.
I didn't.
I know you didn't. You guys,
You want to know why I didn't though?
because it's a circle.
No, because it would have been the dust from sitting
Would've-
there would have filled it in.
It would have been more dust on the rest of it, and that would still be less dusty in that spot.
Yeah, but it was no dust whatsoever.
I know.
It's like it's like
I know.
It's like snow on footprints.
Well, how much in the future was it? We don't know,
So wasn't like
because people
The
were still
whole-
running out of there.
wasn't the whole branch thing threatening to like rip everything apart?
Yeah,
That's why
So
they wanna
why
prune
would it be
everybody.
there in the future?
right. But my point is, how far in the future was it? 20 minutes? We don't know. It was the future.
There was nobody there.
There were tons of people there, and they were all running, and they had
There
things
was
saying,
nobody
"Everybody
there
get out,
in the
everybody
room
get
with
out."
him. The building
No,
was
no,
half
no, not-
empty. What's her name is
not in the
coming
room
off
with
the
him.
elevator. The lights are
Right.
dim. The phone is ringing. Like there's nobody else around him.
It could have been 2 days. It could have been a day. It could
You're
have been less than a day. We
reaching.
don't know. I don't think I'm reaching that far though, because why were there still people there? Because there were people there. He saw people. He heard people running, and he was scrambling trying to find a time stick. He was.
Okay.
So that's what I picked up this in the second viewing.
Okay.
Because that is your question. If this is all falling apart, why are there still people? Like, why would there still be people there and it's not destroyed? Well, because how far past was it?
I'm just saying, like, the time travel already seems wonky right here. If we're not like keeping continuity between him traveling to the past and him traveling to the future, like already the rules are kind of different.
Right, and I think that's why, just like the first season, we don't really know what's going on yet. We're still
Okay,
very confused.
sure.
And they're doing a good job keeping it mysterious because I have no idea what's happening. And that's why I don't know what's going to come out of the next episode. And I'm not even going to bother trying to speculate because I really don't know. They're really, I think, doing a good job in just confusing us all and throwing all of these random new concepts at us in the first episode. So we go, what is this? Why does she have bangs? Why is she at McDonald's suddenly? And why is she in the elevator? What's happening? Why are they sending out an entire militia after her?
Well, she's the
and-
new Kang.
Kind of looking like it.
I don't know. No
I'm really
idea.
curious to know what they're gonna do about Jonathan Majors.
Yeah,
He's in hot water right now. He got like some
Again?
assault Yeah, he got like assault allegations against him. He's tied up in court. I don't know if he's
Why-
around to be doing all this right now, so I don't know what exactly the plan is gonna be.
Well, I
moving
think that's the
forward
whole-
with that.
I think that's the whole point and why they veered off from the original idea, which is this is a different timeline and Kang is not the conqueror. Like,
King's the chump.
I don't know. No, he's not the chump. I'm just saying, like, we don't know where they're going with it. It stinks that they introduced it, and then they had Quantumania, which was all about Kang the Conqueror, and then all the stuff that happened with Majors, and you go, okay, now what? Are they going to go ahead and pull a Flash and just undo everything and be like, yeah, so none of this matters anymore because he screwed up time, and let's just move on and have somebody else create a new universe? No, Marvel won't go that far. DC will do it because they're not as invested as Marvel's been. They're we'll say it this way: DC is more comfortable just rebooting and just creating a new universe whenever they want,
Good.
because it's like, oh, we just had a Batman movie, we had a Justice League movie. Okay, let's make a new Batman movie that has nothing to do with it.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
so
Absolutely
whatever.
good.
that's why I'm saying, like, what's Marvel gonna do? They're not gonna do what DC's done. They're not gonna just move on. They're gonna find a way to write them out and keep everything else because they don't want to let go of what they've built, even though they've thrown so much down the toilet because they wrote themselves into too many corners. They're in all four corners right now, and they're like, what do we do? I don't know. Let's just break a wall and
Here's-
see what happens.
Well, here's the thing: is at the end of you talk about writing the corners. At the end of Eternals. The after credit scene.
We don't talk about Eternals.
Hold on.
Because it goes nowhere. It
the
means
after-
nothing.
The after credit
That's
scene.
not true.
What since Eternals has related to Eternals?
What since anything post Endgame has related to anything?
Well,
Spider-Man.
No, it hasn't. Again, I ask, what since Endgame has related to anything in the MCU?
Eternals tried to with the after credit scene when they
You're
introduced
still just answer
Arrows?
that one question. What since Endgame has related to anything else inside the MCU?
Hawkeye.
The shows. Loki. The WandaVision.
How do they relate to one another? How did Loki relate to WandaVision? I'm sorry, the TVA, fine. Okay.
Well, to this, no,
because
it's-
of the original Avengers movies where they took off from that.
Yeah. What since Endgame? You want to point your finger at Eternals and say, we don't talk about that because it doesn't relate to anything.
Quantumania and Loki. Well, there you go. Those connect.
Oh, they
because of
okay.
Kang.
You got Kang.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying connect to each other outside.
Because that was
Secret
that was
Invasion.
just your issue right now. Like, we don't talk about Eternals because it didn't relate to anything. Well, I'm asking the question.
No, that's not what I
That's
said.
what Lee just said.
I'm saying, yeah,
what
Eternals has
since
not connected to
Endgame-
anything.
What since Endgame has connected or related to anything else in the MCU?
Spider-Man.
Shang-Chi and Spider-Man.
How?
With what's his name? The guy who played Benedict. What's his name? Who plays?
Oh, real? Okay.
And Doctor Strange.
And Doctor Strange.
Because he comes in.
Multiverse of Madness.
He comes in with the
And all three
circle.
of them.
It's like a circle. No, but what I was trying to say is they write themselves into a
unending.
corner in this way. They did the after credit scene.
There's no corners in the circle.
Right. They did the after credit scene in Eternals, and they introduced Thanos' brother,
Arrows.
which we've never seen since.
No. We might not.
There's
They
been
did the
no
same
other...
thing. They did the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. How long did it take them to finally introduce Adam Warlock?
And then they totally nerfed him. Oh, so they're going to make a big
MCU
thing
is
about
no
that.
stranger to this.
Oh, right. We forgot about that. Oh, he's the one who goes after Rocket. Oh, okay. Sounds good. And then you suddenly Star Wars doesn't have a mask.
Good.
Okay.
Suddenly, what doesn't have a mask?
Suddenly Star Wars, Star Lord
Okay,
doesn't have
there
a
you
mask.
go. I'm about to say, like, okay. Just
Yeah.
questions. Just questions. I mean, I got no problem with DC pulling the plug on whatever they're doing to just, like, completely scrap everything and rewrite everything and just start over anew because they can. And Marvel should have done the same thing a while ago, and they didn't.
But they were too invested with their 23 films.
And they
What
shouldn't
they
have
should
been.
have done.
They shouldn't
I
have
know.
been.
What
They shouldn't have been
But
this
we-
invested.
Listen, we enjoyed it up to Endgame. Actually, we
matter.
enjoyed Endgame and all the Spider-Man, but
It doesn't
What
matter.
they should have done is
None of
just
that matters anymore.
they should have ended there and then started telling new stories.
or just stop.
Like just moved on.
Yes,
The
100%.
problem is-
But they didn't.
But the problem is everybody wanted to see some type of write-off of the characters, and they went full on Disney TV shows and blah blah blah, and then these things don't tie back in because I mean, what's going on? What's going on with Daredevil at this point? I don't even remember. Last thing I
cares?
saw, he was hanging out with She-Hulk, and
Who cares
all
what
gold.
Daredevil is doing? I don't care what Daredevil is doing. I could care less about all of that. I give all the credit in the world for DC of being cognizant enough to actually pull the plug on what wasn't working and then start over again fresh. Let them do it. Let them do it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wonder how bad Batgirl would have been.
They'll make stupid money doing it too.
They are going to make insane money doing this. Yeah.
If they do it right.
Whatever plan James Gunn has over there, go for it. Go for it. So, whoa.
Quick question: how long have we been into this actual conversation?
1 hour and 8 minutes.
16:01 measures.
Yeah, you tell measures. 1 hour, 8 minutes, 31, 32, 33.
No, I got it. 34, 35, 36.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that's good. You can count, and you can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot.
Well, I don't know about you guys. It's getting late for me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed, for the most part, I enjoyed this episode. What's his name? He's the only funny part about that entire sequence.
That's one good thing that I'll say about this episode. That's one thing about the show right now that I like as compared to the first season. The first season, they tried desperately hard to make like that duo of Luke Wilson and
Owen Wilson
and whatever Loki. They tried really desperately hard to make them both like the serious role and the comedic relief at the same time, and it kind of feels like now they're pushing that off to the side because they were way more serious here than they were last season. Like they took the seriousness of the situation as front and center because they wrote in what
I don't know. The whole thing about skin, and it's like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. You said it doesn't look that bad. Well, what do you think? And they look at the girl who just, I love that the subtitle said gulp.
Okay.
The girl who's in the elevator, like that was all comedic. Pretty much everything Mobius did was comedic in this episode.
No, this OB character that they wrote in here was the comedic relief.
Yeah.
Of the show right now, where in Loki and Mobius is very much like pushed into the more serious role.
Do you think he'll come back, or do you think this was it for him?
Obi?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Why wouldn't they? Of course.
Why would they need him again?
He's like a central character right now. He's like the person who's like, you have to go here and you got to do the thing and you got to open the gate and you got to push the key and you got blah, blah, blah,
exactly,
blah, blah.
Which is not what normally happens if you watch any show. That character pops in for something and then they're gone.
He's the key maker in the Matrix.
Yes, he is. And the key maker was only in one movie.
100%.
And he was in, what, a third of that movie.
Right.
So I feel like that's what they're doing here is they brought him in, here's a bunch, here's a big, like, all the information you need for this. And he goes, oh, I invented the handbook. It's on all your desks. And it's like, it has everything you ever needed to know. It's all here.
They still have a wonky timeline thing going on that needs to be resolved.
Right, but he did say
feels like they would need him for
the
this.
Handbook. No, they've got the handbook.
Okay.
He basically gave it away right there. I'm not gonna put money on it and say, oh, he's not gonna come back. But I feel like they didn't write him in there where they need him for the story to go forward. Right. I wish they would, but then again,
he is a great actor.
Yeah,
he's fantastic. But I mean, what would they really do with him besides keep the same thing going? I feel like if they kept him in as much as we want
to solve this one problem,
I feel like if they kept him in,
but if they
kept him in to go beyond this, we would get tired of the same thing. It would be a gimmick at this point that we'd get bored of.
What did you say, Will? I missed that.
They haven't solved the problem.
They did solve the problem.
They solved the Loki problem. They didn't solve the branch problem.
They're not going to solve the branch problem, and that's the whole point. We know that there is a multiverse. They have to
solve the branch problem.
They know that they're going to get into the Kang Dynasty, which is its own separate thing outside of this show.
Fine.
Just like they did with Ahsoka.
They
get into this whole thing about Thrawn. They're not going to take care of Thrawn. They're clearly not, and they did not. He's moving on to other things.
It's still like a central issue plot of the show where clearly Mobius and Loki are not going to take care of on their own.
Of course.
Come on.
No, we know that.
That's why I'm saying, like, come on. They're gonna need. I don't know. I think it would be foolish to bring him in for just one episode. Really, and he's on such a resurgence of his career.
He's not going to be in every episode. I'll tell you that.
He might be in one or two more.
He might pop up a couple more times.
We'll see what happens.
But I don't see him being a consistent thing. They wouldn't.
Right.
You can't manage having that many people. I mean, unless it's like the Avengers, doing the same thing at the same time throughout the whole story. They're not the Power Rangers.
Right.
Well, it's not going to happen like that.
So I know you're getting
Highlander the Source.
I know Chuck is getting tired, and I'm going to end on saying this. I think everybody needs to go back and rewatch this episode, especially the part where their door opens and just everything that built up to it, the reveal of it, the way the camera's on them, and then they all look at the door, and the camera slowly pans over to the door, and then it zooms in on the door, and then the door opens. It's very much 100% Cerebro. And anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. And that'll be it.
Okay.
Chuck, go home, get some sleep. Have a good one.
I shall.
Okay.
All right,
everyone. Have a great night, or a great time, or a great day. Whenever you're listening to this, have a great one.
Be well.
Good evening, good afternoon, and good night.
Ooh.